Good morning. Lots of buttons to press there. Getting everything going. So good to see you. Oh my goodness. It is Friday already. We are into June. I don't know what the word would be. Like, how did we get here so soon? The little kid has been in and out on summer vacation. She got all her classes set up for her first semester at Mesa Community College yesterday. So she is pretty excited for that. She is going to be studying music business. Didn't even know such a thing existed before she figured out that that's what she wanted to do. But that is what she wants to do. So happy June. It is actually the first time we've been together in June, isn't it? I was sitting here thinking, weren't we on a Zoom call last week? And yes, we were. So that's part of why I'm like all discombobulated. So we are the first Friday. And we have a handful of or a couple of questions. I'm actually going to start with Sharon, because you asked a question that a couple of other people have actually asked as well. And I figured that we could have a bit of fun playing in the software to see what actually happens. So let me add you to the spotlight here. How's it going up in sunny Colorado?
Hot now, finally.
What?
It's finally getting warmer, okay?
Send some of your cool down and we'll send some of our heat up, and I think we'll probably meet somewhere nice in the middle.
No, it was cold until yesterday, okay? So
Oh
yesterday
my.
it was near 80 here, so that's kind of toasty for us. For
Well,
the
we're heading to 108. It's
Oh
currently
no, my aunt
103.
lives in
So
Sun City West, and it's like, oh, that's too hot for me.
yeah, it's a little toasty. So anyway, so you and a couple of other people have asked, is it possible to use the new sashing technique to join the blocks in the heart to heart quilt, in
Right.
the twin size heart to heart? So I figured we could have a play with that and see what actually happens. So let me share my screen and pop you all back in the middle so I can see you. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you can actually see my screen, or Sharon, you can just tell me. Okay, good.
Yeah, I can see it.
So this is actually the original design file for the twin version of the Heart to Heart quilt. It's an on-point quilt, and so something for any of you who, and we're in CorelDRAW right now, for any of you who are working ever at any point on an on-point quilt in CorelDRAW, it's actually a lot easier. Let me see if I can actually get into the right window here to rotate everything by 45 degrees, and we rotate counterclockwise, so that instead of looking at um, and instead of looking at on point blocks, it's a lot easier to select things when they're actually straight. So this is the quilt um, rotated so that we've got it straight. Now then, we have we have binding around the outside. The way that the heart to heart quilt was constructed, if we take, let's say, this block here, it's a 12-inch block, finished size. That's what you actually see on the front of the quilt. And it has 2-inch wide strips of sashing in between. Now, if you read the instructions on how to make this quilt, you actually you create your blocks, piece them, applique them, quilt them, so that you've got the quilt top and the back. We're only ever dealing with a little thing, actually about 15 inches. Well, it will probably be, I think, what, 16 inches we actually quilt them. And then you trim them down to 14 and a half inches. And you sew these guys together, wrong side together. So these are fully quilted blocks with the back on and everything. You sew them wrong sides together so that the seam allowance is actually on the right side. And then the sashing strips are pieced together with the little corner squares, and essentially applique onto the top of the quilt. So if you don't want to do that, and I'm assuming when you're asking Sharon, you're thinking, take this sashing out completely, right?
Well, kind of, but I kind of like the sashing, but I guess I would have to sacrifice that, right?
Well, okay,
Because I thought it was really pretty, you know, because you have some quilting on your sashing strips, right?
Yeah, the sashing strips are quilted. So when you're making the sashing strips, you've got obviously your fabric, and then you've got batting underneath it. You quilt them and trim the batting to a very specific size, and then basically wrap the fabric around the edges of the batting to get a nice finished edge so that you can literally just applique it on.
Okay.
I don't know if that sounds horrible or not. It's actually reasonably straightforward to do. Let's see if, okay, so I'm going to make a copy of this page, and then we can have a look at two different variations on what you might do.
Okay.
One that takes out this sashing and one that keeps this sashing. So actually, as I'm thinking about it, I kind of okay, we'll see where we get to. So let's start with version 1 on page 1. Version 1 would be get rid of all of the sashing. So that is exactly what we're going to do. And it is going to shrink the size of the quilt somewhat. It remains to be seen how much, but it will definitely shrink. So that's all those guys out. If you were trying to do this in an on-point layout, it would be somewhat of a nightmare. Oh, we have actually got a so one more over there. Get rid of that. Okay, I'm actually going to put an outline around everything because that makes life a lot easier. I'm going to change my nudge to 2 inches because we just took out 2-inch wide sashing. So we can now whoops. Let's get rid of that bit. Okay, we'll start over this way. So we've got everything butted up left to right. Now we'll do top down. Whoops, wrong way.
It doesn't look too bad. It looks really good.
It actually, you know what's kind of, it does actually look kind of cool. Now, one thing that, there's actually, just in case you're trying to crane your neck, wondering what it looks like straight. So we've gone from just shy of 85 by 102 to measuring 68 by 85. So it's shrunk quite a bit. So you might want to put another.
What if you add another row?
Yeah, another column and another row. That would work. There is actually one flaw in the way that I've done this, because if you were going to join these guys using the new sashing technique, you would have a 1/2 inch gap in between. So having shrunk everything, or having moved everything 2 inches in, we're now going to move everything 1/2 inch back out again.
Okay.
Wrong way. And then, so this is actually not going to make such a big difference. One thing that did come up, I can't remember, did it come up on a Zoom call or if it came through in an email from Donna, who is not here, but Donna had asked about joining your sashing strips, because on the back of the quilt, you're actually going to see the wrong side of the sashing pieces. And she had joined 2 pieces of fabric and wound up with a seam allowance showing on the back. So we did actually figure out a couple of different ways where you, if you have to do that, you can tidy up that seam allowance just a little bit. But the ideal situation is that you do actually have lengths of sashing to go the whole way. So for instance, if you had a piece that went all the way from up there to down here, you don't want to be joining, you want to be using lengths. So let's take that one back. So now we're at 70 by 88. And you've got the possibility of that 1/2 inch wide little accent there with the sashing using the new method. So what I would do is choose a direction that you're going to create kind of strips. So that block to that block, you've got a piece of sashing across there, that to that to that to that, all pieces of sashing going across there, these guys, these guys, these guys, these guys, these guys, and then that one's on its own. And then you're adding this, let's see, we've just added that to that with a piece of sashing there. Then you're adding this column, as it were, to this column with a single piece of sashing there.
Right, so you'd go across here, 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 and then go across there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we, and again, anytime you're working on point in CorelDRAW, rotate everything.
Now,
Makes life so much easier.
Now, if you want to make it bigger, you would just add another row of this, right?
Yes. So let's say,
or would you have to add 2 rows to make it look?
well, that's actually, let's see. Let's add a few bits of sashing in here first.
Okay.
So if that goes 12.5 inches down needs a minus sign in front of it. Okay. And then we can take, oops. We'll send them across that way. We don't need those two. We don't need that one. We do want to send some back in the other direction as well. And okay, so that would be all of your vertical strips, as it were. And then this is you have to make a decision about whether or not like these edges here wouldn't actually get sashing on them. You would need to trim those for binding. So you kind of get the gist of this, right? Now, in terms of making it bigger, actually, we don't want all the way over there. We want them into there. That bit doesn't need to be there. In terms of making it bigger, we're going to use just the square blocks for now. So you would figure out if you wanted to put what do we want to say? Hearts and piece blocks and make all of those kinds of decisions. That is not locked onto that corner. I want that to grab there. And then we want it to go that way and that way. So that would, you're right in that you would have to put two on in order for it to do something sensible up here, right? Because if you just put an extra row down here, then you've got a funky situation up here.
Right, would you have to add one of these to it?
Yeah, you have to add one of these. Well, you'd have to add one of these to it, but if you don't have this row as well, then it's gonna be a bit odd.
Right, so you'd have to add another, say like another big heart right there.
Yeah, hang tight. Let's
this row right here, right?
We want to duplicate that line like that. And then we would have whether or not you want let's see, we want that to go there, and that needs to be a 12.5. So we do actually need extra ones of those there. And we need an extra one of these characters. So now we're at 88 by 106, which interestingly enough, given that we've added 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 blocks to that. That is fascinating. We've added 18 blocks to it to make it 88 by 106 versus the original 83 by 101, taking the sashing out. So 18 blocks versus making the sashing.
Okay.
So that's one possibility, and you can you can go to town playing with the positioning of piece blocks and heart blocks and all of that kind of stuff. The other idea that sprang to mind when you said that you wanted to keep this sashing was that if you actually made this sashing as its own mini little quilt sandwiches, so in the original version of it, you've got your top, your sashing fabric with a piece of batting behind it. You do the quilting, and then because that sits on top of the quilt,
right, you don't need the backing.
You don't need any backing. But if you did it so that you have the sashing, batting, and backing fabric and quilt those strips, they're 12 by 2 inches finished, so you would trim them to 12.5 by 2.5, and then you would do your sashing corners. Again, have your corner fabric on the top, batting, and then put some backing fabric underneath. Trim those to 2.5 by 2.5. You will have to do I think the layout of the design so that you can stitch up a bunch of them. You might have to move things around a bit so that you can trim them as no, that actually don't pay any attention to that, because they've still got a 1/4 inch seam allowance that you've got to turn under and do what you're going to do anyway. So what I'm thinking here is you would just keep everything, but you would put sashing on both sides of the 2-inch wide sashing, right?
Well, that wouldn't look bad either. You could use like the white color.
So yeah, you could that there's options that you could play with. Or you could even put like a dark gray in there. We're going to do that bit, and we're going to shrink it so we don't have to keep. This guy would need to be shifted off that way. Oops, did not catch the right spot. So this actually has a lot of potential for being kind of fun. Let's see, start. we're kind of sort of good there. So now you're at 89 by 108 to 109.
That's good size.
Yeah, that's a good size. Let's put some of this looks a bit funky.
I actually like this one. I like this method.
Yeah, that's definitely got some possibilities going for it. So lots of options.
Question for you on the coloring. How many did you use? Multiple shades of the pink?
We had yes, let me pull up a picture of the actual quilt. My computer seems like it's on a go slow right now. Let me just plug it in so that we don't lose everything. Okay. Let's see. You know what? It's really interesting. This is one of very few quilts that we don't have a picture of the actual flat quilt or the actual quilt flat. All of the photos had Heather and Ruthie involved in them, or this one, which we had draped over the chair. So, yes, we had a bunch of different colors of the pinks. So we've got 1, 2, 3 there. I think we had about 8 different pinks that we were using for the piece, the piecing, and the piece blocks we used prints. So they're kind of tiny prints. I think for the hearts we actually used grunge because I wanted, excuse me, the stitching to show up. So the grunge gives you that really nice solid effect. Versus using the tiny patterned pinks on the piece blocks. But yeah, this one we made it for Heather for her going away to college quilt, and so she actually picked out all of the fabrics.
Okay.
So yeah, there was a bunch of different colors. It's actually a really good. It's a really good quilt to make it really scrappy. You know, if you had, I don't know, 25 quarters all of different colored pinks and used each one in a different block, you know, I think you could come up with something really pretty.
Right, because I wanted to do I wanted to make it like kind of like tone on tone, okay? But I wanted to use not pinks, I wanted to use latte colors. Okay, I made the latte quilt many years ago. That was the first Bernina quilt.
Yeah.
On the 180. And that's been on my bed for a real long time. So I kind of want to use the same color line.
Right?
What's that?
You want a new one?
I want to make it in the same color line because I like the colors, okay? Because I like.
So go with the colors that you love. Yeah, you can make it any color you want.
But I wanted to use tone on tone, so I just was wondering how many colors you use so I could come up with, you know, a number of shades.
I mean, you could seriously do this. Let me share my screen one more time. So if you look at the piece blocks, you've got the center, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rings, and then you've got the sashing. So five different, well, and this is the same as that, but you've got up to 5 colors there. If this sashing is a 6th color, if you're joining the blocks to the sashing with another color, so if you had 7 different colors, you could, I think you could do something really special with that. And you're not necessarily going to have the same color in the same position in each block.
Right.
Yeah. Because you can see here that I think I think we did it so that this outer ring was the same fabric, but this fabric here is definitely not the same as this fabric here.
Okay.
So
now, didn't you have in another video in another Zoom something about the quilting?
Yes.
Can't remember. I mean, that was a while, but you know, maybe a couple months ago.
One of the things about quilting this was because we were let me see, it wasn't so much for quilting this one, it was for quilting the baby quilt. I created a template to put in my hoop. It's the same thing that I did for quilting the Hearts and Kisses quilt. Because like the Hearts and Kisses, let me stop sharing so we can actually see what I'm pointing at here. So the Hearts and Kisses quilt, this outside border is a 4-inch wide border. This is a strip. This is 6 inches. If you're working on the medium-sized hearts, then the version of the quilt that has medium in the middle, this would be a 5-inch quilt. Like even taking this 4-inch quilt, the 4-inch wide thing, so that you don't have to have an excessive amount of batting and backing fabric. I wanted to do it so that we had but just enough. So it's actually a 5-inch. The blocks are 5 inches wide. We put them on a 7-inch wide piece of batting and backing, so you've got an inch on either side, but that's not wide enough to put into a hoop, right, to grab it for quilting. So I created a hoop template, and there are full instructions, and we will definitely be going through this in the stitch out when we the quilting stitch out is July 12th. It
Sarah,
actually works out.
Can I sign up for the stitch out even though I don't have the new design, the hearts? I want to make this other
Yeah,
heart
send me an email. Send me an email because you can't get it without this.
One, you know, it's like I have so many designs I haven't made. I don't need another heart one. So
okay, yes, send me an email and we'll figure out how to get you in that stitch out.
Okay. Because the new hearts, you know, it's like I have these other hearts I need to make first. Yeah.
You know what? You actually had me thinking because you could use these hearts on apart from the quilting. It's typically the quilting that always falls down when I have all of these brilliant ideas. But then again, you're going to do your own quilting.
I don't know. I'm considering trying. I was going to try Marilyn's method to quilt it in the hoop to see how that goes.
Okay. Yeah, because the Hearts and Kisses has quilting in the hoop. The heart has quilting in the hoop.
Right, because I still have the yellow submarine and another quilt and another quilt to quilt, so I don't really need more quilts to quilt. Okay. So if I can work on this one a little bit and do some quilting.
Okay. They actually go together really well, quilted in the hoop, because you're only looking at small pieces.
Right.
In the heart to heart quilt. And this one, we're only doing a column at a time. So it's a reasonably small piece. But in order to save on the batting and the backing, for the smaller blocks here and for the small blocks in the heart to heart, I created this way of using a piece of template plastic. So, and the template plastic goes in the hoop, and you cut a hole out of the middle of it, and then you've got your quilt sandwich, so top batting backing, and you can tape it to the template plastic in your hoop. And if you've got a magnetic hoop, and I actually really recommend that you do use a magnetic hoop, especially for this, because then you can put the magnet down on the top and you've got even more security. I actually did these guys, the 4-inch and the 6-inch, in the banana hoops, and literally I had the quilt taped to the template plastic with the ends of it hanging over the top. It wasn't until after I'd done it that I was like, oh, well, if I'd done this in the magnetic hoop, then I could actually have used the top part of the magnetic hoop to give me a little bit of extra stability. but
Okay.
it worked either way. So,
Okay.
let me pull up a picture. Actually, you reminded me. Somebody posted on Facebook, I think this morning, since we're talking about the Heart to Heart quilt, Ingrid, let me bring this down. I thought this was adorable. And I'm going to share. Ingrid had made a Heart to Heart quilt using the little hearts for a friend of her daughter, and they had sent her this picture with the little baby actually laying on her quilt. So I thought that was really adorable. And she Ingrid had quilted these the hearts and the heart blocks in the hoop. You can just see the quilting, especially on this block, and then it looks like she did some free motion quilting in the sashing there.
Okay.
But I thought that was adorable. So, okay. Any more questions?
No more questions.
Awesome. I'm excited to see. Do you by any chance have your feather quilt to hand?
I do. Let me go get it upstairs. Okay. Hold on.
Okay, I'm going to go to Lonnie's had her hand up for a while, so I will come back to you in a minute. Lonnie.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm trying to work on the quilt, as you know, for my granddaughter that's going to college. Anyhow, do you have instructions of how much fabric you need to buy if you buy the fabric, or do you? I've gone through the instructions on both the roses and the hearts and the whatever, but do you have the instructions for how long each strip is and how much you need? Or have I not found for that? Yeah, just
for the Hearts and Kisses quilt?
Yeah.
Hang tight. Let me pull it up. So,
because I'm at the beach and I need to know what I have to get out of town. I don't bring all my stuff out.
Okay, hang tight 1 second.
I'm just curious to not have to take the class on, every other week or whatever it is, because I'm usually not around here. I'm outside in the woods doing work.
Okay. Okay, so if you've purchased the Awakened Heart collection,
yes, I have.
Then the original, actually, I should be showing it to you in. Let me see if I can pull it up, and I'll show you what it looks like in your library.
Yeah, because that's where I've been, and I couldn't find it, and I couldn't find how much of each color you got, and maybe I'm just
it's all in there. At least
it's in the Awaken, because I downloaded both of them again. I downloaded the Hearts and Kisses quilt, the application, and then I downloaded the Waking collection that's for the pockets. Now, is there another one I didn't download?
Let me see. Okay, so can you see my screen still?
Yes, that's where I went.
If you go into your library and you find the Awakened Heart collection, the introduction was already there, the downloads were already there, the video instructions were already there, and then at the bottom I added the Hearts and Kisses quilt. So if you're not seeing this, then you need to hit the refresh button up here.
Okay.
To reload it in your browser.
Okay.
Ignore the fact that I'm in preview mode here. So when you go in there, then if you're using a Dropbox, you can click here.
Yes.
And it will take you right into the Dropbox folder. And you can copy that into your Dropbox, or you can download this here onto your hard drive. So if you click on that, then it will come into your downloads folder. Then you would let's actually do it right now. So it's going to pop into your downloads folder.
Right.
And it's not finished. What you'll basically end up with, once you unzip it, you'll end up with these 3 folders. Okay?
Yes, because I have designs, I have cutting, and I have instructions. But I don't know that I have this design.
No, that will be your Awakened Heart collection. So in the Awakened Heart collection, you'll have your pockets, you'll have your appliques. So you'll need to go into the applique folder for the actual appliques, and you've got instructions, designs, and cutting. But you'll also need to download the Hearts and Kisses, and you'll have design worksheets for your quilting and instructions.
I haven't evidently downloaded that.
Yeah, just so make sure when you're in the Awakened Heart collection, you've got introduction, you've got downloads, and that's for the pockets, that's for the applique, video instructions, and then the Hearts and Kisses quilt we added at the bottom. So again, if you don't see this, make sure you hit the
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
Button. And then that will, when you click in there, you can either download the zip file or you can click into the Dropbox.
Okay.
And then make sure you actually read what it says here.
Okay.
So there's 2 versions of it. There's 2 versions.
I haven't done that.
That's okay. But now whilst you're here, let me just let you know, and then hopefully it'll make, when you come to it, it'll maybe ring a few bells. So Big Hearts and Little Hearts is the one that I have on the wall behind me. But you need the big hoop to do that. You need at least 240 by 305 in order to do that.
I have all the hoops. Yeah.
Or you can do medium hearts and little hearts. When you can do the medium hearts in the 200 by 250 hoops. So decide which one you want to do. And
I have a question about the big hearts on that one that has all those pieces in it. It's
number 3.
Yes. Anyhow, it's in the small heart. There's no pieces.
No,
I wrote your note last night.
The small hearts don't have any pockets on them. The small heart number 3, hang tight 1 second. I actually have it up here somewhere. Can you see? You can't see it down there. Hold on. This is small heart number 3 here. So the small hearts don't have any pockets on the front. It's purely applique.
It's not the 3. It's the number 6. It's the number 6.
Let's see, which one is the number?
Anything is possible today.
Okay.
Those pieces. There's none of those in the small heart, correct?
The small one, you've got the heart out, the main heart shape, and then you've got the little pocket applique.
Right. But they don't have those little pieces.
No, you don't. This is only stitching.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I thought it was. So
yeah, for the small heart, this is only stitching.
Okay.
I came to the conclusion we did not need a mass of teeny tiny little pieces to deal with.
Yes. Okay, well, I find where my trouble is. I've only downloaded 2 different ones, the pocket one and the applique one, and I didn't get any of the other instructions.
Okay, well, make sure that you use the applique version, the applique version of the heart.
Yes.
And then let me just share my screen again. So you either want to go in the Big Hearts, Little Hearts PDF or the Medium Hearts, Little Hearts PDF. then whichever one of those, you want to look at the how to piece it document, because that's
Okay.
how to actually piece the quilt, the kisses
Okay.
blocks in the hoop.
Okay.
And you want to look at how to quilt it, which is how to
Okay.
quilt that. So
Pieces.
let's say you want to do big hearts and little hearts. Let's pop in here. So you're going to have the read everything first.
Yes, that's good. I haven't
So
seen that.
yes, so we've got a little description of what's going on here, and
Yes.
then the fabric requirements.
Yes. I knew you had to have it someplace. I just didn't know
Yeah,
where.
it's
I
there.
thought I'd added everything. Yeah.
And
I thought
then
I'd
how to
downloaded everything.
cut it.
Yes.
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 That's the
Very-
appliques, and then this is everything that you're going to need to cut.
Okay. Okay. I
Make
knew it had
make
to be
sure,
there. I just didn't know where.
yeah, make sure when you're cutting the background pieces, you're cutting squares here, and then every single square you're going to cut twice on the diagonal. You're going to cut it on that diagonal, and then you're going to cut it on that diagonal.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes. 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 Yes.
this document is going to tell you exactly how many, I call them units, to make for each block.
Mhm. Mhm.
But to know how to stitch each block, you're going to want to go into the how to piece it document.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I figure we'll
I
have
will
that
find
written
everything.
down one time, and then we can refer to it from a bunch of different places.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Okay. I knew that had to be someplace. I just, couldn't find it.
That's okay.
I wasn't thinking like you. Anyhow.
I try to make
Okay.
it easy to find. I figured, if I bury it somewhere, then that's going to be hard to find. So I figured,
Yeah.
let's just create a whole new section,
Yes.
and
That's good. Okay.
and hopefully everybody will find it.
Okay. I will be
Okay.
done soon.
Well, let me know if you have any more questions.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, Lonnie.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Sharon, I'm coming back.
Hi.
Okay. I am going to actually unspotlight myself so that we can see your beautiful Had the Feather quilt, which you finished quilting. That is so beautiful.
I had
And
lots of good things in January.
And it's silk, right?
It's silk. It's silk. It's silk I've had probably for 20 years, 15 years.
Oh my. But the whole thing is silk. The background, the appliques.
No, the appliques are not. They're grunge.
Okay, it's just the background that's silk.
The
then.
background, the two, the light pink and the darker.
It's beautiful. I love it.
So
gorgeous. And I love the way you quilted the borders as well, actually.
Ruler work, and they didn't quite match up, but you can't tell when you.
You know what? I think that not a single person
impossible.
who sees this quilt is going to be noticing anything not lining up.
Right. Yeah, the circles are not, I mean, they don't exactly match, they're not, I didn't measure it and I didn't try to figure it out. It just went wherever it ended.
It's beautiful.
And if you don't hit it exactly, on your circles, it'll be off a smidge. And it just keeps growing. Your error.
Well, thank you so much for bringing that to show to us.
I
love it. I love the colors.
Oh, thank you.
You are welcome. Okay. Now then, let's see. We have one more question, I think. Lisa, I'm coming to ask you to unmute here.
Yeah, I've never done one of your projects ever, so I'm just like completely overwhelmed right now. So anyway.
Well, you are in the right place then, because just about everybody else on the call has done at least one. And there's lots of help to be had. And lots of people who have stitched up the butterfly. So
Okay.
are you in a Facebook group yet?
I don't know. I'll check.
Because if you go into the Meaning of Life Designs Facebook group, if you have a question and it's not close to a Friday, or specifically the first or the third Friday, you can always jump in, and lots of people in there who will come to your aid within minutes, literally.
No, actually, I am. I am on the Facebook group. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
'Cause
So,
I feel silly for asking such silly questions.
you know, there is no silly question ever. Every single person in the Facebook group and in the Zoom room right now was a beginner at some point and had never ever done a Meaning of Life Designs project. And, you know, we all start somewhere.
Yeah.
We all start somewhere. So as long as you know how to turn your embroidery machine on, you're in good shape.
Yeah.
So, for the butterfly, you're absolutely right. So you said, do you cut the background in one piece and then hoop it as you make it? Do you put the applique on before or after doing the background quilting? Now, there's actually, the butterfly is unique in that there are a couple of different ways you can do it. Check out the chat. Jan says we all ask the silliest questions. Actually, if you haven't seen Jan's daily log of making her Sunshine Cove block, go check that out in the Facebook group. That is such a beautiful example of somebody going in there and saying, help. And, you know, a little bit of encouragement and motivation coming along, and success at the end. And Jan actually did a daily post showing us her progress every day, which was really amazing to watch. So back to the butterfly quilt. 1 second, whilst I have a drink here. Okay. So for the butterfly quilt, you're going to be cutting your background fabric. And you're actually going to be piecing the whole of the quilt top first. Let me pull up the instructions and we can walk through it.
Yeah, I've got my iPad on the side to do that, so I can do two things at once. Yay.
Okay. So now are you making the big butterfly quilt?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me share my screen. There we go. So if you have either downloaded into the Dropbox or use the zip file in the instructions folder, this is what you're going to see. Definitely take a look at the steps of a successful embroidered applique.
Right.
And then you're going to want the Butterfly 100 quilt, and you're also going to want the Butterfly 100 design notes. So let's start in the quilt first. Don't need that. So this is page 2 on just about every single thing that every single document we ever produced, because when you do read through the instructions, you don't necessarily need to read them you know, like intensely the first time around, but definitely kind of scan through and then go through it step by step when you're ready. So here we go. So there's your fabric requirements. Here's your cutting.
Wait, go. Where did you find the fabric requirements?
On page 4.
On page 4, okay.
Yeah. So page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. And we've got 4 different colors. So white is your main background. And then cool is what we used for the applique, and some of the borders, and the ocean and pear are borders. Then how to cut each of the colors very specifically, and make sure that you label everything. I like to use post-it notes, or you can get like mini post-it tag things. that they're not they're post-it somethings that, you know how post-it notes are like 3-inch squares. You can get little tiny thick flags that you use on
Right.
page markers in a book, and you can write on them with a pen. So I like to use those to label the fabric, but you definitely want to label everything as you cut it. Some more cutting here. This also is what you're going to cut out for your applique shapes, and you want to make sure for your applique shapes that you've got fusible webbing on the back. And then you can either use the SVG files, or if you have the Applique Quilt Go Cutters, then you can do that too. Okay, so we're always going to use 1/4-inch seam unless we specify otherwise. I like to trim my seam allowances to 1/8 of an inch. It's not essential. It's just something that I like to do, especially if you've got a dark color and a light color and you have the possibility of needing to press the seam underneath the light color. If you've got if you've trimmed your seam allowance, you can typically hide the fact that you've got a dark color under there. Okay, so step 1, you're going to stitch your butterfly onto your center background, and that's where you need to go to the Butterfly 100 design notes. And that particular document, this one here, will give you all of the details that you need to stitch up your your butterfly. So you're going to start out with your piece of stabilizer, mark up the lines as specified, and you're actually going to label them all. And then, which machine are you using? Which machine do you
I have a baby lock.
What size is, what's your biggest hoop?
All I know is it's 9 by 14, so I don't know the
Okay, so that's 240 by 360 millimeters.
Okay.
So it's always a good idea to know the millimeter version of your hoop size. So 9.5 by 14 or 9 by 14.5, whichever way around, that's the 240 by 360 hoop. So if your hoop's that big, then you're going to do this lot. This is why you need to read all the way through. If you have, it's at least 240 by 320. So your hoop is, if it's 240 by 360, so you can use this set of designs. So you're going to make sure that you go to the designs folder. Let's see, designs folder, Butterfly 100, 240 by 320. You want to make sure that you use these designs. And so Baby Lock, you're going to use the PES version. So those are the designs that you're going to be stitching.
Okay.
So then if we step back a second, okay, you draw we have actually changed the way we write instructions since we wrote the butterfly. You're going to draw up your lines on your piece of stabilizer, and then you're going to center the stabilizer on the wrong side of your piece of background fabric, and you're going to baste along each of the lines. Now, that is, you're going to find all of that information in this Steps for Successful Embroidered Applique. So you got your applique shape preparation. So you cut your background to the size specified. Best press on the butterfly is actually a really good idea. It will just give you that little bit of extra crispness. Cut your stabilizer as specified, draw the markings as specified, center on the wrong side of the background, mark side up, stitch along the lines using a stitch length, 4.46 millimeters, you know, long enough that it's easy to take out, short enough that it's sturdy. And the bobbin thread is actually going to be showing up on the right side of your fabric. So you want to make sure that the bobbin thread is easily visible on your background fabric. So this is actually a really good way of using up those little odds and ends of bobbin thread that you have hanging around. And then you want to press everything, press the background fabric, starting at the center, working to the outside so that you can remove any wrinkles if you should get any. If you do notice everything kind of wrinkling up, then typically it's because your bobbin tension is too tight. Usually when people are using their embroidery machine threaded for embroidery. So just make sure that you're using your embroidery, you're sewing, using sewing settings. Okay, so then you're going, for each of the designs that you need to stitch, you're going to go back to your design notes. So you'll notice we've got each of these intersections labeled. And you're going to look at this set of designs. So your first hooping, you're going to stitch this design one center top, and you're going to align it with the C. So to stitch a design, this is where you would need to put back in here. You want to load a piece of stabilizer into your hoop, load your embroidery machine, stitch color number 1 onto the stabilizer into your hoop. That's always going to be a placement line. We never ever hoop fabric when we're just doing applique. We float the fabric on top of the stabilizer in the hoop. And so color number 1 is always going to be a placement line to show you where to position your background fabric. So you're going to take fabric off the hoop, off the machine. And my favorite tool is this June Taylor Cushion Quilter Square and Blocker. It's a padded ironing board, but the board in it, actually, you can put a pin into it and get yourself a really nice pivot point. Follow the instructions here on how to actually get the background fabric aligned with the stabilizer in the hoop. And I'm going to show you in our YouTube channel, we actually have a video that it will be really easy for you to watch, and it will show you step by step how to do the placement. Let me find it. This is one of those videos that I'm going to put into a playlist all by itself to make it a bit easier to find. Here we go. I am going to pop the link in the chat for you. But if you go to the YouTube, if you go to the Meaning of Life Designs YouTube channel, you're looking for a video that's called How to Position a Machine Embroidery Design exactly where you want it. So for each design, you're going to you're going to stitch the placement line on the stabilizer, place your background fabric at whichever intersection it's telling you to do here. So for the next design, where you stitch this section, it's the 2 center bottom design, and you're going to be aligning it with the intersections at H and M. Then you'll have this one that you want to pay attention to where it's telling you what the heck happened here. you want to pay attention to where it's telling you the top of the background fabric is going to be, because it's not necessarily always going to be at the top of the hoop. You might have to rotate the background fabric 180 degrees, in which case the top is going to be at the bottom of the hoop. This particular design, the top of the background fabric is going to be at the top and to the left. So it's not going to be square, okay? So if you literally go step by step for each hooping, you should come out right in the end. Once you've done the applique, then you are going to follow the instructions to create the borders and trim the borders up. Then for this particular quilt, because the borders are on point, you're going to measure your borders, then you're going to trim the center to match the borders. And add the borders. And as Shirley figured out last week, you want to make sure that you trim your squares, trim the border pieces exactly so that everything is the right size. So once you've done that, you've got your quilt top, then you're going to go to the Midnight Butterfly, and that's where you're going to find all of the quilting designs. And if you want to come back again once you've completed your quilt top, we can definitely go through how to go about quilting it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is way over my head.
You know, I think if you ask anyone who's currently sitting here, one step at a time, it's really doable. I get that I've just thrown a ton of stuff at you, like how to do the entire thing from beginning to end. and so you might feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But I'm going to say one thing at a time. So the first thing that you want to do, you want to make the Butterfly 100 quilt. So look at the instructions for the Butterfly 100 quilt.
Mm-hmm.
Which is this one. Figure out the fabric colors that you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As Jan says, you can do it step by step. Jan is the one who documented her, I think it was block 5 of Sunshine Cove in our Facebook group. I'm going to speak on behalf of Jan. I hope you don't mind, Jan, but I would say Jan would be delighted to help you through this. Marilyn as well. Marilyn is just telling me that you can't see my screen. Marilyn is actually the one who stepped up with the encouragement for Jan at the beginning of her Sunshine Cove. So lots of people in our Facebook group who will metaphorically hold your hand as you go step by step. Okay. But first up, figure out which fabric you want to use. What colors do you want? And definitely go look in the Facebook group for butterfly quilts, because there's quite a lot of them in there, and you can see a bunch of different color variations that people have used. Then cut everything up.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you label everything. Then figure out your applique shapes.
And
then,
so forth.
Step 1 here, stitch the Butterfly 100. Okay, that is a fairly large undertaking. It's one step, but it's a fairly large undertaking. But refer to this document, which is this one here. So you're going to start at the beginning and maybe don't read that number because it's a big one. But start at the beginning, start at this page and mark up your stabilizer, right? Then you're going to jump into this steps for successful embroidery to figure out what in the world am I going to do with that piece of stabilizer. So you can follow the steps in here. And this document will show you, once you've prepared your applique shapes, everything you need to do with the background fabric and your stabilizer. And then for each design you need to stitch, which you're coming into the design notes and going to page, whichever it was for your hoop size. Page 16 or page 17 for your hoop size. For every design here, you're going to follow the instructions here, right? And if you're at home and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I've completely forgotten what she said, you can always watch the replay of this meeting as well. It will be in your library. You should have a product in your library called MEL's Get Together, I think.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And you can go to today's date. Now, it won't appear in your library until Monday of next week.
Okay.
But you can always go back to that and watch our conversation right now over again. And it's also going to be up on YouTube immediately, and it's also going to be on our Facebook page immediately. So you can always go back and watch there as well.
Okay.
But literally one step at a time. I am not immune to this. I have a new business coach, and we had a meeting yesterday, and we were talking about a new project which I want to embark on, and I'm freaking out because it's a huge project, and I'm looking at what's needing to be happening 6 months from now, and she's like, nope, you're not there, you're here. All you need to do now is step one. Don't worry about what's down there. Just this is the only thing that you need to do right now. And I'm going to pass that wisdom on to you. Literally take the first page, do what it says on the first page,
Mm-hmm.
then do the next page. And it might send you off to a different document, but even if you get the different document, then you're just going to do one page at a time. Okay?
Okay.
And we've got you. Everybody on the Zoom call, we are here to root for you. Everybody in our Facebook group, we are here to root for you. If you've got questions and you're having a freak out moment and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I give up, don't ever do that. Come on a call here or jump in the Facebook group and say, help, I don't know what to do. And somebody will jump in and give you a pointer in the right direction.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so happy that you're here, Lisa.
Thanks.
Okay, let's see. We did run over just a little bit. Terry Lynn, are you here? I think so. Terry, I'm thinking you're the right Terry.
Yes, I am.
Hi there.
Hi.
So I did a little digging.
Okay.
And I figured the design out. And so you had a question, you're like, there's a booby in the butterfly here. And I even went and looked at the original butterfly that I'd stitched up using that particular design. It's the Butterfly 70.
Okay. Yeah.
Jasmine has it on a body pillow on her bed. I don't know when we released this in 2016. This is like an 8-year-old project. You are the first person to notice that there is that little tiny spot of
Sorry.
bothersomeness right there in that design. So I will fix that.
I did figure out if you go into the fill of your stitch and you change your Y, I believe just bring your Y down one click, it fixes it all.
Okay, good to know.
So, and I'm just started taking your digitized class and see how much I've learned.
Beautiful. I love that. Okay, just in case anybody is thinking, what the heck are they talking about? I'm going to show you right now. Got a lot of windows open here, somewhere down below. Okay, so this by the Butterfly 74 left wing 1 design. This thing right here, right? If
Yep.
we zoom in on that. No one, including me, has ever spied that little bit of funky stitching before. So I am, you know what? Way to go for jumping in the software and figuring out how to fix that for yourself. I'm delighted that that you were able to do that. And
there's a reason why I took the class at the same time as doing this, so that I kind of had an idea what I was doing.
yes,
So
that's beautiful.
yeah, it took me a little bit to figure out which slide was the fill, but as soon as I got that, and I remembered you talking about the placement of your whatever your border edging is,
Uh-huh.
you called it something, and how it wouldn't line up right, and that's what I thought this fill was.
Okay,
So
that works.
yep.
Well, I'm so happy you figured it out, and I will get this fixed up in the original.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. We will be back 2 weeks from today, I think. We're actually doing something next Friday. If you would like to join us, we have part 1 of the Hearts and Kisses Stitch Out. So Friday the 14th, which is next Friday, Thursday the 27th. We were going to do it on Friday the 28th. Then Susie, I'm looking at you, and Marilyn, if I could see you, I would be looking at you, and Joe, I would definitely be looking at you if you were here. And she's not. Between the 3 of them, they got me going on a plane on that Friday. I am going to be the one with the phone videoing the Q-Tips meeting in person for the very first time. I am so excited about this. I don't know what to say, but yes, I get to go and become a Q-Tip for that particular weekend. So instead of Friday the 28th, the second part of the Hearts and Kisses Stitch Out is Thursday the 27th. That there was divine timing in this whole thing, because I was literally about to hit send on an email when Joe got on the phone and like, no, you're coming here and you're not doing that there. And then the third part is July 12th, which is a Friday again. So you should have gotten an email about that earlier this week if you want to come. I'll be sending you one tomorrow. If you didn't get that and you want to come, we're going to have a ton of fun. We're going to actually do it a little bit differently. I am actually going to be stitching and cutting and this, that, and the othering right along with you guys, and you can follow along. We figured that we would do it differently. I figured that, you know what, if I'm going to make videos to do this, I may as well make videos with you guys so that you can ask questions right on the spot. So that is the plan. So we will be back next week for the part 1 of the Hearts and Kisses Stitch Out. We'll be back for our regularly scheduled third Friday the following week. One last thing, people have been asking where to get the fabric from for the Hearts and Kisses quilt. Gina Perks at the Copper Needle in Payson and I have been talking, and I was so impressed with myself. We talked about this a month ago, about her putting kits together, and she's been traveling like a maniac. And so we haven't entirely got our act together in terms of getting these kits organized or the fabric. But I'm crossing my fingers that Gina will be getting the fabric and you will be able to order it from her. So I think that is all for now. I will see you hopefully next Friday, and if not, 2 weeks from today. Have a fabulous weekend. Stay cool. If you're anywhere near Arizona, where it is very toasty, or send some of your coolness down here if you have any.